Rhythm games have been around for about 50 years and come in many different forms. Some have you hitting buttons at certain times, some have you clicking the screen at certain points, but almost all of them have something in common. For games about music, you sure have to look at the screen a lot. The Rhythm Heaven series does what many other entries in the genre don't: encourage players to look away from the screen and pay attention to the music. This is achieved not just by use of visuals and sound cues, but also minor sonic details that help distinguish similar signals. One of the things Rhythm Heaven is known for is its simplistic visuals. Most of the time, all that will be on screen is a couple characters in the foreground and a relatively plain or even monochrome background. A great example of this is the game Tambourine, which has a hand, a monkey, and a flat blue background. With the addition of the overall cartoony aesthetic, there aren't many visual elements to draw your attention. This idea is contrasted by the game's use of visual distractions, which try to limit how much attention you can pay to the screen. This is first done during the tutorial when they hold up the test in progress sign, although in most cases it's done less blatantly. Similarly, Air Rally, Samurai Slice, Catch of the Day, and Launch Party cover the screen with clouds, feathers, fish, and stars respectively. Another common method is camera movement, whether it be through zooms, such as in Exhibition Match or Micro Row, or with a truck and pan like in Packing Pests. The game might also try to force the player to focus on their character, for example through a spotlight like in Screwbot Factory 2, or through Samurai Slice's story synopsis. But enough about the visuals, time to look away from the screen and pay attention to the music. Rhythm Heaven generally has two kinds of cues. There are attentive cues, like in Ringside or Launch Party, and disruptive cues, like in Donk Donk or Flockstep. The way these cues differ is in the way they affect the song. For example, Hole-in-One uses a monkey sound to tell you when to swing, but Monkey Watch uses a monkey sound to indicate double time. Get it? Great! Here's some more. Catch of the Day has each fish nibble the hook before they bite. Shrimp Shuffle uses the "a-what-a" cue to signal the regular timing. The monsters in Samurai Slice giggle before they jump out, and Tap Troop asks if you're ready before changing the rhythm. Playing the game without understanding these sound cues would put you at an unnecessary disadvantage, not to mention that some games are practically impossible to play without them. Now to the fun stuff, and the reason I actually wanted to make this video. Rhythm Heaven Fever has subtle audio details that give really useful information if you know what to listen for. My first experience with this was through playing Doubleday, where I noticed the soccer ball, basketball, and football all make different noises when they hit the ground. After looking further, I found many more minigames which use changes in sound effect to separate similar cues. Catch of the Day is similar to Doubleday in that it also has 3 cues with 3 unique sounds, one for each the quick nibble, the pause gill, and the 3 fish. Packing Pest is a step down from that, having only 2 cues, the candy and the spider. Screwbot Factory adds a sound to the mechanical arm when it's lifting a smaller robot. Working Dough, Bossa Nova, and Seesaw each have 2 characters who make different noises to each other. Here's the first set of sounds, and here's the second. Additionally, Seesaw uses a small ding to announce the faster timing. The announcer from Figure Fighter says "and" before jab and 1-2 if the player is not already in that sequence. When a combo is required in Karate Man, it'll tell you by throwing a light bulb first. Not only does this light bulb make a springboard noise when thrown, but the throw noise right after is replaced with the sound of a low thud. Launch Party's 4 different rockets use 4 different synths and 4 different scales listed here. And last but not least, because each of the executives from Board Meeting hum a different note, you can tell how many there are, and subsequently how many come before you, by sound alone. Now after all this, I know what you may be thinking. This is all fine and dandy for the base roster, but what about the rest of the game? If you're anything like me and perfected everything without touching any other part of the game, it may surprise you to learn that there are 26 more games outside of the base 50, although I'm only going to talk about a handful of them here. The extra games section is comprised solely of ports of games from the GBA entry, so they're fairly simple. The 2 most notable examples are Power Calligraphy, which uses a mixture of groans and rises as sound cues, and Tap Trial, which has an assortment of monkey noises to match each desired input. As for Endless games, the only visual distraction present is the Fade to Black and Wake Up Caller, which forces you to use your internal metronome. Munchie Monk's cues are rather straightforward, but the cue Handful of Peas has 3 different sounds depending on if it has 5, 9, or 13 peas. Kung Fu Ball is the most interesting 2-player game, having cues initiated by the other player, for example, Great Bird Call and Spike. Finally, Endless Remix's Chameleon uses the pitch of the fly's buzzing to indicate how far away it is. If you've been paying attention, there are a couple pretty important things I haven't addressed yet. Are these design choices beneficial for the player? And if so, why don't any other games employ them? For the former, there are studies showing that auditory reaction speed is on average faster than visual reaction speed, as well as visual reaction speed being lower if accompanied by auditory stimuli. For the latter, there actually are other games that use sound cues. Some of them are inspired by Rhythm Heaven, like Melatonin and Bits and Bobs, while some others are completely unrelated, like Space Channel 5. However, I wouldn't be surprised if you hadn't heard of any of these games. This is because the real answer is, of course, marketability. As a consumer, which would you prefer? A game that is designed well but has songs nobody knows? Or a game that, while not having these design choices, is still fun to play and has megalovania? People want to play songs that they recognize. This is how a franchise like Guitar Hero could make over $1 billion in only a few years. Companies have established a formula that makes them money, and even though rhythm games are past their heyday, I don't think the genre is going to change anytime soon. Also, Osu is just a worse version of Sonic Chronicles.